By the morning of February 22, 2014, it was clear that the government of Viktor Yanukovych, the beleaguered pro-Russian president of Ukraine, had fallen, amid protests sparked by his decision not to move toward a closer relationship with the European Union. Yanukovych's Russian allies denounced his political collapse as a coup, and the crisis became a flashpoint in relations between the Kremlin and the West. Into the tumult leapt Russia's military spy agency, the GRU, which launched a covert influence operation, one that presaged what Moscow would do in the United States 2 years later. The campaign was part of an all-out propaganda offensive against the new government in Kiev and pro-Western demonstrators. Its goal was to influence key decision-makers and the wider public to pave the way for the Russian military action that was launched February 27 with the seizure of the Crimean Parliament building by armed men, according to a classified GRU report obtained by The Washington Post. Crimea was ultimately annexed by Russia. The report provides a unique window into one GRU team's effort across 6 days in 2014. Starting the day after Yanukovych's fall, the military spies created a slew of fake personas on the social media platforms of Facebook and its Russian equivalent VKontakty, or VK for short. The personas were meant to represent ordinary people from across Ukraine who were disillusioned with opposition protests at Kiev's central square, called the Maidan. On Saturday evening, February 22, 2014, a man calling himself Ivan Golitsyn posted a comment on an article in a British newspaper. The story was about the Ukraine opposition leader and former Prime Minister, Yulia Tymoshenko, who had been released from prison that day. "There was a coup in Ukraine," wrote Golitsyn in English. "I live in Kiev. I was on the Maidan, but peaceful protest ended 2 months ago, when we were displaced by armed nationalists. It's a nightmare. Fascists came to us again 70 years after the Second World War. I do not want this future for Ukraine." Golitsyn was the creation of a GRU psychological operations officer, according to the documents. The profile was created on February 22, and he used as his profile photo a picture of Konstantin Yaroshenko, a convicted Russian drug smuggler serving time in a U.S. prison. Golitsyn's comments also appeared in other English-language outlets. Overall, the GRU team targeted more than 30 Ukrainian groups and social media platforms, as well as 25 leading English-language publications, according to the report. Pretending to be ordinary Ukrainians, GRU operatives also tapped out comments aimed at riling up pro-Russian citizens against the protesters, whom they called Zapodenцы or Westerners. One comment read, "Brigades of Zapodency are now on their way to rob and kill us. It is very clear that these people hold nothing sacred." Another read, "The rise of the opposition here will be catastrophic. These people are completely different. They have a totally different vision of Ukraine's future." Demonstrators on the Maidan were called Nazis and fascists.